Do you or someone you know feel tired, frustrated, and overwhelmed when they read, even if most of the words are read correctly? There's a reason for that. Hi, I'm Rebecca, the reading hacker. I help struggling readers crack the reading code and find confidence. There are a lot of people out there who can technically read, but it's a struggle, it's exhausting, and sometimes they don't understand what's being said. It's important to know this is not about effort or that they're not smart. It has something to do with fluency. Fluency is kind of like the Wi-Fi between word recognition and language comprehension. As a reminder, the simple view of reading is a math formula that says how we get to reading comprehension. Word recognition times language comprehension equals reading comprehension. Fluency connects the two. Like I said, like a Wi-Fi, like a Bluetooth. Some people say it's like a bridge. I use Wi-Fi. And we need to have these two connected in order to be able to understand. Now, reading fluency has three parts, and these are the three areas that can break down and turn even some of the best readers into a struggling reader. But there's really good news. There are many things we can do to fix this, or at least practice. Now, as we go through this video, we're going to go over what these three areas are that need to be worked on, and then we're going to talk about what we can actually do to help at home and in the classroom. So our first part of fluency that can break down and cause issues is accuracy. And most people can tell you being accurate at anything is extremely important. It's actually the foundation of fluency. If the words aren't correct, you're not understanding what you're reading. But it even gets a little more specific. So most probes that you give want anywhere between 96 and 98% accuracy. If you drop below 90%, then comprehension really struggles. And if you kind of think of it like this, if there are 100 words you're reading and you drop below 90%, that's 10 errors. And so here's what happens. Your brain is so focused on breaking down those words that it doesn't have the room for understanding the vocabulary, understanding the context, and your working memory is overloaded. And I want you to talk about working memory here because a lot of people don't know what that is. So working memory, think of it like your brain's work table, okay? You don't want it overloaded. You don't want it like completely a mess because the brain does not like doing two things at once. As much as we like to do multitasking, how I live my life, the brain doesn't like that. So accuracy is a breakdown of word recognition. And if accuracy is the problem, then going back in and working on decoding, working on, phonics or multisyllabic word type things, which we can get to it down the line, are some things you're going to need to work on. Because you can't understand what you're reading if you can't read the words. Basically, all tests then become a decoding test. We can't really tell if the person understands what they're reading or having problems with the vocabulary or the text or anything of that nature because the words are such a problem. The second place where fluency can break down is rate. Now, this tends to be the most misunderstood part of fluency. Many people think that fluency is just being able to read very quickly. And so sometimes you'll have kids doing these drills where they're just reading fast, fast, fast and trying to increase how many words per minute. And yes, we want something called automaticity, automatic. Remember what I said? The brain doesn't like to do two things at once. So if it can automatically read and not have to worry breaking down the words, that accuracy, then there's room on the working memory table for comprehension. So rate has a place. Now, and I'm going to have to look for these numbers because sometimes numbers fly out of my head. Adults typically read about 166 to 178 words a minute. And just for comparison, fourth graders, a good rate for them would be about 120 to 140. okay, words per minute. And I know a lot of people out there will say, well, there's some people who are just slow readers. And I understand that. And remember, these are averages, right? We also want to look at that accuracy as well. So if you have a child who's reading 120, 140, 150 words a minute, but their accuracy is below, I would even say 96%, like in the 91, 94% range, then you still have somebody who really struggles with reading fluency. And actually, this is like the one place where typically we will exit students from support. I've done it and I didn't know I was doing it incorrectly. And this is something I've had to reflect on my teaching practices. Oh, they're reading a great amount. Oh, they're above 90%. All right, next. Let's get them in, let's get them something else. Let's get them working on a different skill. But no, we need to work until rate and accuracy are together, have improved. All right, so the third part of fluency is something called prosody. Prosody. I have to say it like that because I mispronounce that word all the time. It's one of those things. And prosody has to do with grouping words into meaningful chunks so that we understand what is being said. All right, it's very syntax driven. Now, syntax is the word order of our language. All right, a lot of times we do subject, verb, object. I know I'm getting a little in the nitty gritty of grammar, so don't go running again for the hills. But it's basically being able to understand the patterns in our language. All right. I just did a lesson today with one of my adult learners that I'm working with about prosody. And so what we do is when we practice it, we go through and teach about pausing at periods and pausing at commas and really reading the who and the what, or you could say the what and the what, together. The cat, that's the who, ran down the street. And that's a very simple sentence. So teaching that is not as difficult as, say, a very long sentence that has a bunch of commas or semicolons and so forth. And the thing for struggling readers is as they get older, our text tends to have a lot more complex sentences in it. And complex compound, they're very, very long. I can remember when I was going for my master's reading one of the books we had to read. What was it? It was about educational research. And there were paragraphs there where I had to even take my pen out and start underlining the who and the what and pausing it. And I think I even went to my husband at one point and was like, what does this say? Because it's very, very technical when it comes with that. So prosody is something that is really something that we do want to work on. And it is important because we're seeing that kids who struggle with prosody and read like a robot and just go for that speed score typically 20 to 40% lower on comprehension assessments. So it really does connect to how we understand. All right, quick change here. I was going to go into a whole segment on how fluency is affected by dyslexia, ADHD, and autism. And actually, I'm going to make that into its own video because that can get a little long with this video, and I want to make sure that I give you all the information that you need in order to understand that, okay? So we've talked about fluency and what's really difficult about it. So let's talk about what you can do about it. And I'm talking to the teacher, I'm talking to the parent, the grandparent, the aunt, the uncle, heck, the older brother, older sister, okay? You can do many things. We can all do hard things. Okay, so here's how you're going to support somebody with their fluency. So we're going to go through accuracy, rate, and prosody. I'm going to give you a couple actionable things, and this is not meant to be done for hours on end. This can be done in 5, 10, 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times a night. Something that can be done quite quickly, all right? Or in a classroom. Open bell ringer, perfect example for it. All right, so let's go with supported reading. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick a short text. Now, some people like to pick a level above independent, and some people like to pick a grade level. Whatever works for you with that. At home, you could pick something the kid's really interested in, all right, or something you've read together, all right, a book. If this is a really, really struggling reader, you can even just do one sentence. One sentence fluency reads can totally be done, all right? And the first thing you're going to do to support accuracy is you're going to read it together, all right? And You can read it together 2 or 3 times if you like. You're really focusing on them being correct. All right, you're fixing the errors, and make sure you fix it in a nice way. Just that's not what I said. Like, no. I don't think any of you have that voice, but anyway. Now, to help with rate, you're going to read it again. Multiple readings actually really help with rate. All right, so you're going to have them read it again, and you can have them read it on their own, or you can read it together. And you can take the same text and do it like during the week, all right? 2, 3, 4 days until they've got it. And some of you might think, well, aren't they just memorizing the words? Well, sort of. There's something called orthographic mapping, and that is basically in the brain when we take the sounds and the letters and we put them together. All right, most words that we read at the speed of sight, that's what sight words are orthographically mapped. See, can I talk today? So we go for that, all right? And if we keep reading, sometimes that really helps it stick, okay? Now, the third thing we need to work on is prosody, all right? And this is something that really comes down to modeling. So that's you reading the text to your child or to your students and showing them the proper way to say it. And that's why read alouds in the classroom are so important, or reading at home to kids, even when they're in middle school or even high school. When you read aloud and you practice and they hear how to read, it does amazing things. And we'll go into that at some other point in time as well. All right. So here's another thing you can do. You can do read aloud to them, and then you can do something called echo reading. All right. And echo reading is a way to get any reader involved in practicing rate, practicing accuracy, and prosody. All right. And it's basically what it says, echo. So you're going to read the sentence or read part of the sentence. I would read the meaningful chunk. All right. So if you're reading like the cat ran down the street, I would read the cat. The kid repeats the cat ran down the street. And then you repeat, ran down the street. They make your echo. All right. Now, when you get to the longer sentences, you can read in like the who and the what type meaningful chunks. But it's basically reading it and then repeating it. So what you really could do is you could start off with you modeling it and then doing an echo read and then you reading it together and then having them read it on their own. All right. I know it's a lot of steps, but if you do that, that's basically what, 6, 7 minutes of a night of one little text of something. And if you're doing it at home, make sure you pick something that they enjoy, some kind of topic that they like. It can be about video games. It can be about YouTubing. Some kids are really into that. It can be about Roblox. It can be about anything. Okay. Just make sure that they get that repetitive practice with it. All right. This is not meant to replace phonics or multisyllabic interventions. All right. We're doing those as well, and we can talk about those in another video, but this is to get them practicing with that fluency, all right, and really thinking about what they're reading. Fluency practice is something that every parent, grandparent, family member can do to help a struggling reader. Anyone can do it. Just let everybody know, down below is a downloadable checklist that you can use to help guide your conversation with your education provider. There's one for parents and also for homeschooling parents to help reflect on their practices as well. And in the notes, I'm also going to leave the steps for fluency practice. I know there were quite a few of them, but we'll definitely do that, okay? When you have clear information and the correct tools, reading becomes teachable. So go ahead and try it. Let's crack the code and unlock the reader.